Hello guys, and welcome to another Warcry video. Today we're not taking a look at any warbands. I think we got through all of them, but we are going to take a look at abilities. This is something I've been working on for a while. It's been kind of difficult. I'm still not completely sold on the result I've got, but I'm gonna try and explain you what I've done, and I would love to hear your opinions on this. Because obviously I've published a tier list recently. I guess most of you will have seen it, where I ranked all the Warcry warbands by different factors, but the one factor I wasn't able to rank so far has been abilities and how good they are, basically. So what I did today was, not today, but yeah, what we're doing today is taking a look at abilities, how I've ranked them, and how this will impact the tier lists, hopefully in the future. I would like to hear your feedback on this whole thing before I incorporate it into my tier list, because any changes you suggest and I agree with, I'm going to make before publishing another version of my tier list. So let's get started. What I did to start off with was categorize abilities, basically. So I said, hey, there's abilities that happen that you see a lot of times. For example, a bonus attack action, a bonus move action, a net, basically, that prevents you from moving, nets that prevent you from disengaging, and so on. So there's variable different attacks here. And I've ranked them all from 1 point to 5 points. So 5 points would be the best and 1 point would be the lowest. For reference, I said that Onslaught and the general +1 move ability, they are worth 3 points. So basically an ability that's below that is not going to be worth bringing over Onslaught in most cases, in my opinion. And anything that's above 3 is better than Onslaught and so on. Okay, so let's get into it. We've got an attack action. What I did here was say 3 to 4. That's based on the fact that abilities are worded differently. Sometimes you are required to meet certain requirements in order to use an ability. For example, for attack actions, what a lot of warbands have is if this fighter has taken down another fighter, they can do another attack action for a double. So since that is heavily reliant on that killing another opponent first, I would rank that 3 points. So actually not higher than Onslaught. Because then you have to basically weigh whether you want to go for the safer kill by using Onslaught, which will give you more attacks and a higher chance of killing your opponent, or whether you want to go for the like gamble that you will be able to kill the opponent and then use the extra action you get out of that ability. So and for example, if there's no such requirement tied to the ability, then I would award 4 points. One other thing I did was say that a quad always subtracts 1 point. So because quads are the only kind of ability you are definitely not guaranteed to get every turn, I'm subtracting 1 point. That's because you will basically always roll a double, at least one double each turn. It's a very slim possibility to not. So when you roll a double and you get a joker dice, a wild die, you can always use that wild dice to get a triple. So triples are almost guaranteed, quads are not. Right, so anyways, that's the attack action. The move action I valued similarly because I think in many cases getting a bonus move is kind of the same value, because whether you move into a fight first and then attack for free, or you attack or you get a free move and then attack with your action, doesn't really make a big difference in many occasions. So I think these can be valued very much the same. The disengage action I'm valuing a bit lower because It's a lot more situational. A lot of times you want to kill the opponent and not be killed, so uh, yeah, and not flee. So I think it's not just as good. The reason the 2 is in here is that some really require big things, like, for example, the Skaven ability Scurry Away. It requires a 4+ on a dice to make the bonus disengage. That is not extremely likely. It's only a 50-50 chance, so that's, to me, that's only worth 2 points, because really this ability is hampering your, like, you're not guaranteed, so it's only a 2. Then we've got combined actions. So basically, if you have a combination of these, it tends to rank higher for me. So if you get a bonus attack and a bonus move, for example, that would obviously be a lot better than just an attack or just a move. Then we've got nets. So that means this is the standard one. For example, choose a fighter within 3 inch and he can't make any move or disengage actions. That would be a 5 to me. Then there's obviously nets which require a dice roll. For example, on a roll of a 3 up, this fighter can't make move or disengage actions. That would be a 4 then. Then we've got the net that's no disengage actions. I'm giving this a 2 if it requires you to be in melee, because some of them are like, when you are within 1 inch of a fighter, you can they cannot do move and disengage actions. That's a 2, because what that will do is that the opponent can still attack you, the one who's done the ability, and it requires you to get very close. There's also abilities that allow you to do this on a lot of range, 8 inches, sometimes even like more than that. So I think that's a bit better because you are more flexible. Then we've got the net with no action. Actually, there's no fighter in these standard warbands or any of these warbands that has this, so you might as well ignore it. Then we've got the damage dice. I think these are difficult to value. So what do I mean by damage one roll? That's when, for example, the Spire Tyrants have an ability where after you finish a move action next to an opponent, you can roll 1 dice. On a 1 to 3, you don't deal any damage. On a 4 to 5, you deal 1. And on a 6, you deal damage equal to the value of the ability. So it's not high damage. On average, it's mostly 1 damage. It has requirements, and yeah, it also has a dice roll in there. So it's just very unreliable damage, and mostly not a lot of damage anyways. So I think the damage 1 roll is oftentimes only going to be worth 1 point. If it's done at range, I'm awarding 2 points, because at least then there's a reason to use it. Because in this case, most of the time, if you just end a move within a fighter, you might want to attack them after, and I think it's better to just use Onslaught then, instead of this ability. Then we've got damage on 2 rolls. Again, this is basically the same ability, but sometimes you get to roll 2 dice. That's obviously better. Again, I'm making this dependent on the range you've got on this ability, how I rate this. Then you've got damage, and you throw basically dice equal to the value of the ability. On a 4 up, you deal damage. Tends to do a bit more than 1 damage, so I'm giving this 2 points. Still not amazing, but not horrible. Then we've got damage in a area around, damage per value. So that's for example what the Ogre Breacher has. After he finishes a move, he deals damage equal to the value of this ability. That's pretty good. That can get you a good bit of damage out there. It's really not bad. So I'm giving that 3 points. Yeah. Then we've got attacks. So these are basically buffs, the ones with the plus in front. These are in area of effects, and these are just for single fighters. Obviously, most of the area of effects things are rated a bit higher because it's very nice to buff all your fighters. Attacks in an area, that's to me, those are some of the strongest abilities. Some leaders, for example, can do +1 attack to all fighters within 6 inches of them or something. So that's the abilities I rate very highly. Then we've got movement in an area, abilities like the war, which allow fighters to move a lot quicker. Really valuable. The war would definitely be a 5. If it's only giving 1 movement to all fighters, it's a 4, but still good. Toughness in an area I'm rating very low because most warbands that have this have very high toughness already and don't need it. Secondly, toughness is overvalued in general. This is often on triples, which makes it pointless. I just think toughness in area is a bad buff in general. Then we have strength in area. Still not great, honestly. It's kind of similar to toughness, although there's a lot more warbands that have strength 3 and can actually benefit from having extra strength, so it's a little bit better than the toughness one is. And then we've obviously got the same kinds of stuff for fighters themselves, so that just buff 1 fighter. And then we've got heals. There's the heals. What's heal roll? Now I'm confusing myself a bit. Ah, yes, that's like you roll a couple of dice, and for each 4+ you get 1 health back or something. It's not exactly great. Then you've got the heal half value of the ability. That's what Sylvaneth has on the double, for example. It's not great, but it's not bad, so I'm giving it a 3. And heal for the value of the ability, that's a 4. Remember though, if that's, for example, if this is on a quad, like it is for the Nurgle Mortals, that would still give the -1, so that would still only award 3 points then. So, I'm not going to go through all the abilities for the fighters, for the warbands. I've just numbered them, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is how you can read them on the card. So, if I take Skaven for example, I've got the card here. Give me a second. They've obviously got 6 abilities. The first one would be Scurry Away. I'm awarding that 2 points. The next one is Crack the Whip, and that would be 4 points because it's a free extra attack action. Then for the third ability, that's a Double Hired Bodyguard. This does not show up in this whole thing, but I'd still give it a 2 because it's just a double you're not going to use a lot. It's, I feel like, oftentimes worse than Onslaught. And we've got the triple Crushing Charge, as I said, that's a 3 to me. Then we've got the triple Lead from the Back, that gives extra attacks to all enemies, to all allies nearby, which is amazing. That's definitely a 5-point ability. And then we've got the Quad, which is Recite from the Book of Woes, which might just be one of the most useless things in the entire game. So that's a 1. So that's basically how I've done these. I'm not going to go through any more cards here. I just wanted to show you how I did it in principle. Please have a look through, like if you play, for example, Legions of Nagash all day, every day, and you know their abilities very well, please do feel free to disagree with me. Say, hey, I don't agree with first ability only being worth 3 points. I think it's very good. Please do let me know. I would love to hear the opinions of people who play a lot of Warcry and use these warbands, to let me know whether their warbands seem fairly represented or not. I have done this all based on this kind of scheme, and then on my personal feelings as well. Yeah, but like all I tried to be very fair to all the warbands. I gave the same. If an ability is the same, I rated it the same for each warband, so I'm not going purely off like guts feeling here. So yeah, but we, it was clear to me that this would not be scientific. I don't think there is a way to do the abilities perfectly scientifically. But therefore, yes, I would like to hear your feedback. And if you guys are happy with it, then I shall try to incorporate this into the tier list and see what it does to our rankings. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a great day and see you in the next one.